I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, December the 12th, brought to you in part by Kansas Regenerative Medical Center. They are pioneers in the regenerative medical field, and they have one of the first and largest standalone stem cell treatment centers in the Midwest. Don't let that stem cell treatment scare you. It's not out of aborted fetuses. It's your own stem cells they take from somewhere else in your body and treat the affected area. They've had a lot of success with it. For more information, go to kansasrmc.com. Northern feeders use leverage, and I told you on the last visit that we had packers coming into the southern plains, especially Kansas, wanting to buy cattle on a Monday afternoon. Okay, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that you got them over the barrel right then. And our southern plains, the few guys that sell negotiated cash, they managed to get $1 more out of them. And I told you that the northern plains guys would get a lot more than that. They did. They got $2 to $3 on Wednesday, and all the way up to $1.95, even in western Nebraska in the 3% area, and some were even passing $1.95. So they're being a little bit tougher to trade with, but the southern plains just doesn't have any trade anymore. And I've told you here recently that the Central Stockyards Fed Cattle Exchange online fed cattle bidding platform is probably the only competition or anything you could call competition in the southern plains fat cattle trade. We did see that come out on Wednesday morning. Fed Cattle Exchange sold some cattle bid the grid base price in Kansas at $1.93 FOB. So that was a lot better than what they got on anything else, because they'd sold everything earlier at $1.91. They sold some cattle in Texas, both beef on dairy cattle bid the grid and just straight up commodity cattle at $1.92 in Texas. So you see what you can get if you have just a smidge. It doesn't take a lot of competition, just a little bit of competition. But I had one cattle feeder friend of mine. He's from the southeast. He retains ownership, feeds cattle in the southern plains, and he was very frustrated with the market in the southern plains. On Wednesday, he told me he thought that the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau could probably out-trade the southern plains cattle feeders trying to sell cash fat cattle, but you can't tell me there's not more to it than that. Why would they give in at $1.91 for the most part? There's got to be some money going under the table, maybe getting Plaza rodeo tickets at the NFR or something. There's got to be something going on there. Why else would they sell them that way when they know all the other feedlots are going to sell them probably $2 to $3 over that market? But anyway, it's kind of frustrating. But talking about the rodeo, I was out there for a couple of days early this week, and finally made it back to the confines of home here. And I tell you guys, if you haven't been out to the rodeo, I highly recommend it. It is a lot of fun, especially actually going to the rodeo. That's the best entertainment there is out there. Things are not cheap like they were 20 or 30 years ago. You're not going to get a $5 steak meal or anything like that. You're not going to get any cheap drinks for the most part. Everything costs a ton, and every time you get into a taxi, it's $50 for the most part wherever you go. But it's a lot of fun, a lot of decent people out there, which if you've gone any other time, you're always looking for decent people to kind of hang with, and there's just decent people everywhere in Vegas this time of year, our kind of people, and everybody that works out there makes note of that, how friendly the people are, and we're like, that's the way you're supposed to be all the time. But there's 10,000 places to buy fancy cowboy boots out there, and everybody's wearing hay boots. But I'm not sure what they're buying those boots for. When would they ever wear them? But it's a good time. But it's a little bit frustrating when you see outsiders come in with big money. The rodeo, it's all presented by an outfit that has ties to Chinese land grab, and could potentially threaten everything that we're trying to celebrate out there, and nobody's really saying anything about it. Of course, I'll talk about anything, but I'm going to tell you the truth, guys, and you guys know what I'm talking about on that. Let's talk about your board. On Wednesday, December live cattle futures were up $2.40 at 192 1/4. February was up $2.35 at 190 137. Your back months were up $1.12 to up 197. January feeder cattle up 172 at 259.09. March was up 192 at 259.37. And your back months on feeder cattle up 115 to up 187. So that fundamental high, you know, on your fat cattle and these stalker calves and everything going up so much, the board's having to pay attention to that and kind of following suit there. March corn was down 3/4 cent a bushel at 448 1/4. January beans up 3/4 cent a bushel at 995 1/2. Your hard red winter wheat for March up 1.5 cents a bushel at 567 1/4. Your fat cattle trade, we have established a market now. Packers are still hungry, so some of those guys like those guys that play hardball there that were passing the 195, you know, they'd probably still be willing to sell them some high quality cattle there if they come out with a little bit more money. And I'm not saying that that could not happen here today or Friday. But we did have pretty decent trade, or I say we've at least established a market. And these numbers I'm giving you are up through 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I think there was a lot more trade from 2 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday. But Iowa sold 1,700. They clocked 2,000 for the week. Live price in Iowa 192 to 193. Dress price $3 a bushel. That's $3 higher. Nebraska 2,200 head, and that's all they've sold all week is what they sold early on Wednesday. Live price 193 to 195. Dress price 298 to mostly all $3. Kansas only 100 there on Wednesday. They sold all their cattle Tuesday for the most part, and they've sold 6,000, which is more than they usually sell anytime. But live price on that 100 was 193, and I told you where that come from earlier. Tuesday they sold most of them at 191, which is what's got everybody kind of frustrated. They thought they could have got a lot more than that. Texas sold 300 head on Wednesday. They've sold 1,000 for the week. 192 was the price on that little dab there on Wednesday, but they sold most of their cattle at 191 on Tuesday also. Some fat cattle auctions. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota sold 1,400 head of slaughter cattle, including the cows and bulls. Conventional fat cattle there, you talk about topsy-turvy. They pulled their bids from their sale barn buyers there in Worthing, South Dakota after having a big higher market last week. This week, conventional fat cattle $3 to $7 lower, from 187 to 193.50. The program cattle drug for your non-implanted 189 to 194. Glacial Lakes Livestock in Watertown, South Dakota sold over 1,000 slaughter cattle, $2 to $3 higher on the conventional fat cattle, selling them from 185 to 192. Program cattle from 192 to 196. Fat Holsteins from 161 to 172. And big fat fed cows from 129 to 138. Box beef cutout values were lower. Choice cuts down 50 cents at 311.23. Selects down 154 at 278.11. Your slaughter trying to keep up, but still falling short. 364,000 through the first 3 days of the week. Estimated cattle slaughter, that's 3,000 less than last week at this time. 15,000 less than the same week a year ago. Everybody's having fun with the Punchy Pick of the Month contest, guys. It's rolling again. Before long, we'll have to come out with another one. But if you want to get into the Punchy Pick, most of you know what it is and what it's all about now. If you get kind of a cool punchy picture on your phone, email that picture to punchy@nationalbeefwire.com. You're automatically entered to win the grand prize, which is all kinds of cool swag from Beaver Feed Company in Beaver, Oklahoma, Beaver County Stockyards, And then you're going to get stuff from NationalBeefWire, from Feeder Flash, but you're going to get a whole case of Therapies, that revolutionary product that is scientifically proven. And I'm going to stick a video testimonial of Therapies on the end of this episode of the Feeder Flash. Talk about Limousine and Limb Flex. If you're looking to spice up your genetics a little bit and you're looking at bull sales, as bull sale season is getting started, you might want to consider Limousine and Limb Flex. That breed has been focusing on feed efficiency, improved marbling, superior yield grade, and calving ease. Let Limousine and Limb Flex take you full circle. For more information, go to NALF.org. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction. Late in the day on Wednesday, after all the sale barns had pretty much closed, sitting at 261.21. That was up $1.37. So it kind of waned off a little bit earlier, first couple of days in the week. Then we get to the middle of the week, we get some of these premium sales up there in the northern plains, and it comes back. But sitting very close to your most recent CME cash feeder cattle index, which was 261.46. Talk about your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, DVAuction broadcaster, and we're proud to be working with them. They had 12,800 head for their two-day feeder sale with calves on Tuesday, yearling feeders on Wednesday. The feeder cattle sold steady to $5 higher. Calves were $5 to $10 lower than the sharply higher market that they had a week ago, and we've pretty much seen that all over this week. As the calves, they still want them desperately, but they're just not quite ready to give some of the levels that they gave last week, and that shot the lights out. But we still saw some pretty impressive quotes from around. Your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day was Bassett Livestock Auction. They had about 5,700 head, and it was unevenly steady with last week. So, even in Bassett, it can't be higher every week, even though we're sitting at the top of the world now looking down. But look at some of your best tested weights there. 801 head of 5-weight steers in Bassett, average 548 at 358.88. 1,803 head of 6-weight steer calves in Bassett. They were all weaned this week in Bassett, no ballers. 649 pounds on the average of those 6-weight steers. Weighted average price $325.46. There were 1,040 head of 7-weight steers. They averaged 731 at $298.18 on the average. 461 head of 9-weight steers. Didn't really have many 8-weights, but 9-weight steers, they averaged all the way up at $973 with a weighted average price of $259.80. Very impressive there. And I've been noting that up in those areas where they raise the best cattle, we just haven't been seeing many heifers. There really wasn't enough heifers in Bassett to get a good test of the market. On Wednesday, it was mostly all steers. So yes, we have started herd rebuilding, or at least heifer retention. So we'll see if they indeed keep those heifers, or if this market keeps going up, we might see them as yearling feeders later on in the year, or next year, I guess. But a couple of really stick-out sales in Bassett. 153 steers weighed 629 and bring 357.50. They had some stick-out sales all around different places. How about Sterling Livestock Commission in Sterling, Colorado? They had 50 steers weighed 478, which is getting pretty close to 500 pounds, at 401.50. That's a stick-out deal. How about Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota on Wednesday? At the feeder sale, we're usually talking about their fat cattle market. They got a heck of a feeder sale there too. 59 of them weighed 755 steers and brought 284. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday, your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, come out of Hub City Livestock in Aberdeen, South Dakota. It was 62 steers, weighed 926, and bring 267.50, or scaring the hell out of $2,500 a head. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.
My name is Jeff Slatton with the Beaver County Stockyards. We run a large number of yearlings. This fall, Rodrigo with Therapies came to me and wanted me to try this product. Since then, our medicine bills went to nothing. This is not an antibiotic. It makes your cattle keep hydrated. It makes your antibiotics and your drugs work like they should. I feed quite a large amount of cattle, and I'm sending them to feed yards, and every feed yard likes it now. We went from doctoring 40% of them last November to almost nothing. We're not having any bad eyes or foot rotters. It's eliminated tons of our problems. I would not buy a set of calves without using this. I think this has made me more money than any antibiotic or drug that I've ever used. This is not a paid advertisement. This is good stuff. If you want to make some money, buy you some little calves, use this Therapies, and save a lot. I don't know what else to say, but it's the best product I've ever used.